Welcome to Investment 360. Now, kicking off World Post Day this week, Stephen Welz and Co. will be hosting its largest stamp auction with the 1918 King George V stamps as the auction's main highlight, collectively valued at over 5 million rand. For more on South Africa and African stamps as an investment alternative, we are joined by Sova Chufedik. He is the head of stamps and coins at Stephen Welz and Company. Sova, thank you for making the time to join us and laughing at my pronunciation of your name. And to think that I got it right while I was practicing. Yes. But let's maybe talk about stamps as an investment alternative. You've got a couple of them laid out on the desk here. I
think let's just go back a bit first. Yeah. When you say alternative investment, you know, one always hears about stock market investments and investing in gold and all of that. I'm a firm believer in saying that people should always diversify investments. I don't like calling stamps investments because it's like you buying a Tretyakov painting today. You pay R1 million for it. In 5 years' time, you sell it and it sells for R500,000 rand. How is that an investment? It's one of these things where everything you buy, you do take risks. When you put money into your stocks, you take risks. It's the same with stamps. The only nice thing about stamps is if you monitor it and if you actually do your homework properly, it does grow in value. So I mean, using the words investments is always a dangerous word, and I think that goes with any commodity. One shouldn't really be saying investments, one should be saying you hope that it actually grows. I find with stamps that it's actually one of the better ones. It has been growing over the last 10 years, it actually has increased every year, and that's on a majority of stamps.
Savo, it's Lindsay Williams in Cape Town. Of course, this is utter madness, and it's very good that you're being so stoic about this and you believe in it. I mean, stamps are great. But there was a stamp on June the 17th of 2014, British Guiana stamp from the 19th century. What happened was there was a shipment of stamps from Britain that was delayed, so the postmaster in British Guiana said, "We'll make 3 of these stamps because I need to send 3 letters." It was a 1-cent stamp. It's 2.5 centimetres by 2.5 centimetres. It sold for $100 million at Sotheby's, and it's by weight and volume and size is the most valuable item on earth. I'm sorry, this is complete madness.
Buying a Ferrari for 4 or 5 million rand, would that be normal?
Madness, I agree with you.
Yeah. Buying a gold-plated cell phone, I mean a gold platinum cell phone, is that madness? You know, I mean, we can start using many examples. Buying a piece of land for 200 million rand. A garage in London, I believe, in the centre of London, went for £200,000. You know, that's 3 million rand. So where does the madness, where do we draw the line of madness?
So when you look at stamps, collecting stamps has been around forever.
Yes.
And it's been a store of wealth for a long time period. And right now, cars, old classic cars overseas, 10 years ago, you couldn't give them away. Now people pay you a fortune for them. But stamps have been around, as I've said earlier on, forever. How volatile are the prices? I mean, just for example, the share market can go on a 1-year basis between up 40 and down 30. How volatile are they?
You know, the amazing thing with stamps, the first thing to look at with stamps, you know, we take something like this for an example. It's a union, 2 penny, it's a variety, it's a Ted Besh pair. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mistake on a stamp. There are not many of these that exist. Something like this, the last time this was put on auction was maybe 15 years ago. The next time this will come on the market, after it's sold at this auction, will be most probably 15, 20 years. With stamps, what we're finding is that the good material, your high-end, sought-after items, the prices are actually getting a lot higher than we think. Auctions around the world, especially in London and Europe, are getting record prices. We've gotten record prices on our auctions in the last year and a half. What we find, it's with the better material. Again, I'm finding people are a lot more selective, and it's not just with stamps, it's across the board with coins. When we were auctioning coins, when we were auctioning paintings, cars, I mean, we sold a Rolls-Royce recently for 1.2 million, I think it was. When we start looking at, people are being a lot more selective in what they're buying, and they're buying the better item. And with stamps, you have the same thing. Obviously, with stamps, what's happening is that you have a 20-year kind of lifespan. And we're finding we're at the tail end of this 20-year, a lot of good material is disappearing. And, you know, we also, the other thing, I always mention this, we have new players in the market. 10 years ago, Chinese weren't buying stamps. The Chinese have come onto the market. There are 50,000 societies in China, stamp societies. The Chinese kids study stamps at school. It's a subject. It's not a hobby subject. It's a subject that you actually study at school. So now all of a sudden...
So I must interrupt you there. I'm going to predict now that your sale, this stamp sale, will be oversubscribed. You will achieve better prices than you ever even predicted because of the South Africa's rich stamp history. We produced the first triangular stamp, etc. And the people you're talking about now will say, well, if 100 million rand can be paid on a 2.5 by 2.5 British Guiana stamp from the 19th century, then a few of the things that are going to be put up for sale in the near future will get better prices as well. It's all to do with liquidity. In 2 years' time, when the stock market crashes, those prices will be 50% lower, but it's all to do with liquidity. But I think you'll do very well.
Thank you.
A quick one, Joseph?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you identify your target market? I think you possibly partially answered that by the Chinese students studying STEMs, but your holding period is quite long. So what's your average return?
You know, what we're finding is that a lot of the collectors are young. It's a younger age group of people coming in. So trust the stock 100%. And we have to be honest with all the stories and things that have happened in the last few years. This you can hold in your hand. You know, a share you can't really hold. You have to monitor it on a computer. So what we're finding is sometimes somebody will buy a stamp today and they'll sell it in a month's time and actually make a profit on it. It's all about research. It's all about speaking to the right people, buying the right stamp. You know, I always talk about, if I had to give anyone advice and say what stamp to buy, the first stamp I always advise is the Union's King Head. Now, these stamps are catalogued anything from 10 to 20,000. They sell anything from 5,000 to 15, 20,000. It's not a lot of money. It's the one stamp that every year does go up in catalog value. It's a nice stamp, and it's a beautiful stamp to actually have. It's one of the stamps I would actually recommend.
Savo, we unfortunately have to wrap this conversation, but thank you for also bringing all the goodies. Now I've got a reason to maybe write Lindsay a letter or two. I've got a few things that I've been meaning to say to you, Lindsay, for quite a while anyway. That's it for Investment 360. A big thank you to Savo Tufedek. He is the head of stamps and coins at Stephen Welz and Company. And our co-hosts for this evening, Wayne Makari from Momentum Wealth and Joseph Boucher from JM Boucher Investments. Now, with the 2016 local government elections fast approaching, Godfrey Matuza caught up with ANC Gauteng chairperson Paul Mashatile